Here.
Dyke.
Here.
Freund. Here. Mack.
Here.
Maycumber absent. Connect. Here.
Agenda item 2 is reading of the district mission statement by Vice President Dyke.
Our mission is to engage, inspire, and empower students and staff in order to maximize learning.
Thank you. Agenda item 3 is approval of the agenda. Are there any corrections?
No changes.
No changes. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion is second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4 is to welcome the visitors and take public comment. Tonight we'll take public comment again, the last time under this set of rules, hopefully. You will refer to the agenda for the rules and procedures. Your comments will be limited to 2 minutes and will be timed on my phone with an alarm sounding at the end. So I encourage you, if you do get meet your 2-minute deadline and have more to say, to please submit those to us so we can make sure that they get recognized. So, would anyone like to make public comment tonight for anything that does not appear on the agenda? No? Good? Awesome. Agenda item 5, move on to comments by board members and the superintendent. Start with Dr. Cox.
Thank you. Congratulations to our Comet Wrestling team. We have 3 Comets competing at the state tournament in Des Moines on Thursday. Congratulations to our speech students. We have 5 Comets who will be performing at the All-State Festival on Saturday at Iowa State University. Good luck to our basketball and bowling teams as they enter postseason competition. And tonight is Kate Hayden's final night covering the school board. We wish her well in her new position in Des Moines.
Oh, no. Yeah. Congratulations. Board members, any comments?
I went to Packed the Gym night last Tuesday and was really impressed to see how packed the gym was.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
great turnout.
Great turnout by the community, very much so. Great game, too.
Really good game, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great performance by the choir. That was phenomenal. I heard a lot of positive comments. So. Okay. Move on to agenda item 6, and committee reports. Buildings and Grounds will meet next week. Communications and Public Relations. Josh.
So we met and we're discussing how the move forward for phase 2 will work, and talking about a plan and the school's position as we move forward. So as of now, we're still working on getting public feedback and reviewing the plans that, I'll call them this iteration of the plans, and making sure that we incorporate as much as we can while keeping in mind the cost of all of the options that are available. So,
Excellent. Finance.
We had a meeting last week and went over the financing of phase 2 again, talking about the information that we had talked about at the board meeting prior to that, and continued to move forward with that whole process to finance phase 2. So that was the main topic of discussion at our meeting.
Excellent. Negotiations and compensation. Robin's gone. Is there any? Skip that for now.
Yeah, skip that one for
Good.
now.
Policy will meet also next week. County Conference Board, we met and have another meeting coming up to finalize the budget for the County Assessor's Office. So one of those things that only meets twice a year. SIAC.
We had our second meeting in January. Good attendance, good discussion about modernization projects, as well as food service program, and we'll meet again at the end of March.
Awesome. Agenda item 7 is the job shadowing report. So I'm listed first here. I'll start. I had the opportunity to shadow Marie Conklin, instructional coach, and we were at Lincoln Elementary that day. We kind of didn't know what would be the best of her day to observe, so she kind of gave me some options, and she had some time scheduled with Principal DeVore to go through some things, and that was really a great opportunity to sit down and kind of see some of the behind-the-scenes things that go on with those positions, and the collaboration between the admin and those and that success coach position. So, well, one thing I took away from it, and I told her this, that really stood out to me, and I really wanted to share, and these are the kinds of things that I like to get out of these shadowing things, so that people in the community know the really good things that are going on in our buildings. I had the opportunity to see, they talked about character camp, right? And working through the process of, kids that have had office referrals and how many of them and how they're given, not really given, but I guess given the opportunity or somewhat required to attend what they were referring to as character camp. So they got to go and do some, or they needed to go and do some role playing as to, okay, what did you do that was wrong? How are you going to address it the next time? But what substantially stood out to me was that they had a list of names and they went through every single name individually, knew exactly what there was that was going on, what the issues were, talked about, okay, this could be going on, maybe that's part of it. The individualized approach to that really stood out to me. It's not the old school, throw all the naughty kids in the in-school suspension room and hope they learn their lesson. It was, let's go through this, let's find out why these kids are having these issues, so that just like we say in our mission statement, different things, that every single kid has got an opportunity to succeed. And I was blown away by the level of detail that was given to that process. So I greatly thank her and Marcia to allowing me to come in and sit in on that. It was a great experience. So. Scott, any chance?
Between work and weather, I'm not even going to draw for the next time because I can't seem to get out of the office during the day.
It's
So
certainly a busy time for you. Missy, any chance you were able to?
I was scheduled to go to Mrs. Master's class on Friday.
Friday,
And
yeah.
then we did not have school.
That's
so,
also a kind of a product of this time of year, so.
I need to get with her and figure
Okay.
out another time to go.
Awesome.
So.
Josh?
So Mr. Hofer and I scheduled time twice, and I missed both of them, so totally my fault.
Okay, so, and you guys, if you want to double up this month, or if you want to not draw, that's fine too, either, whatever you
No, I'll
prefer.
double up.
So, Robin's gone, and Fallon, any chance you had it?
No,
No.
being sick, but I'm gonna try and get in there next
Okay,
week.
awesome. All right, agenda item 8, National School Counseling Week.
Well, while they're setting up, let's draw the names for next month.
Oh, sorry, we did skip that, my bad. My fault on that.
And this is the middle school that's next, is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
I'll take number 11.
Number 11, so we have Aaron Lyman.
Just not thank you.
Number 20.
20, Leanne Smith.
Okay.
Number 5,
That would be Caleb Davidson.
I have 7.
7, and that would be Jessica Hirsch.
And I think Robin wanted one drawn for her. Number 1.
Amanda Ackenbach. We'll have 3 special needs placements
Awesome.
for next month.
Excellent. Okay. Now moving on to agenda item 8. It's your guys' floor if you're ready.
All right, well, thank you for giving us some opportunity to talk about National School Counseling Week, which was held last week, February 5th through 9th. And as a department this year, we have been working towards becoming a comprehensive K-12 program by aligning our standards and developing a program that meets the emotional, career, and academic needs of all the students that we serve in the Charles City School District. And so we wanted to just to give you a little bit of a brief overview of some of the services we provide to the students K-12 and talk a little bit about National School Counseling Week from last week.
I am Sandy Thompson. I am the Pre-K to Washington Elementary School counselor.
I'm Scotty Hagensick. I'm the Lincoln Elementary counselor and 5 through 6 at the middle school.
I'm Heather Kuhn at the middle school and a little bit at the high school.
I'm Pat Rottinghouse, and I'm the high school counselor.
So one of the most important questions that we talk about as a department is moving from the old question of what do school counselors do all day to how are students different based on the services that we provide as a department. The ASCA national model, and ASCA stands for the American School Counseling Association, talks about what a comprehensive school counseling program will look like in order to provide services for all students. So some of the things that we have done as a department this year is working on developing ASCA mindsets and behaviors to our students. And these standards are some of the things we teach in groups, classrooms, and individually. And all of our standards are based on data so that when we deliver a classroom lesson, for example, we align that to the ASCA standards, similar to how teachers align to their standards as well. So I can show you a little bit of what that looks like.
Okay, so the first set here are mindsets. So we've got 6 mindsets that we are working towards implementing into our students each day in the various ways that Scotty already mentioned. The second category would be our behavior standards, and as you can see, there are, oh goodness, I always forget how many there are. There used to be way more than this, but like we might work through, like, say the first one there would be, we've got learning strategies, self-management skills, and social skills, so everything underneath there. So if you know anything about teaching standards, this is what they might look like. So we teach anything from learning strategies to how to manage ourselves to being socially competent with friends and emotional coping and that kind of a thing. We work a lot with culture and climate and relationships, building teacher and child relationships and student-to-student relationships. And so we really try to come back to these standards and benchmarks with everything that we do. And I know we've worked really hard this year to make sure we are tying them back to these benchmarks. So I'm going to, Pat. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, too, as an 11-year person that's been here, I think this is the first year that we've really worked together as a department cohesively. And we have, like, for instance, we're trying to do things systemically, like work on attendance, because as everyone knows, attendance is really important when you're going for those credits to graduate from high school. But those habits start in the elementary and middle school and high school. So if we can, solve some of these issues little, and I don't mean we'll solve them completely, but work on them and tell them, how important we think attendance is, it's a lot easier than up at the high school to kind of, put the thumb on them to get them there so that they know and they've developed those habits. And I think that actually in the last couple years, working systemically has been a big improvement, and we really work together. We meet like every other week together as a group so that we really know what we're doing, and we rely on each other for those resources and to hit it, make our the important things all across the district, which I think is the way to go. So that's exciting.
Just one thing that I do with the standards is at the beginning of each academic year, I take those standards and I make them into a student-friendly survey. So instead of myself asking a student, do you have a growth mindset? I will ask them, do you like to do challenging and hard work? And I let the students say, I sometimes do, I always do, or I never do. And then I can look at Lincoln Elementary's data, for example, and see what percentage of students and in what classes don't like to do challenging work. So then I can tailor a classroom unit towards fostering the perseverance, hard work, determination, some of those skills that I might not have known otherwise unless I'm assessing those standards.
I'll go ahead. So just kind of, I will do that with my little kids at K2 this coming next month. I've got some curriculum we're trying to teach now. So we are really trying to focus on the data and those benchmarks as to what we're going to provide for our kids. We wanted to go through some of the highlights that we have for this year. I'm just going to read the first one. All students in grades K through 4 have received the Kelso's Choice Unit on conflict resolution and problem solving, which has not always happened across the board, and so that was really exciting this year. I know that Scotty did some of that last year at Lincoln, but we were finding with our data, our office referrals, like physical aggression is really high at our level. They're little, they're still trying to learn through all those things. So doing that this year has made a huge impact for sure at Washington. And I'll read the next one. So enhancing the elementary college going and career readiness culture through the career curriculum and career week. So I know Scotty and I haven't always, I haven't always focused on career stuff, but that's kind of a big deal, the college and career ready. So this year we're working together to do that at the K-4 level.
So the third one there, really proud of this one. I get to share a little bit of data with you a little bit later about how much this has already impacted the middle school. But all students 5 through 8 are receiving the second step curriculum in the classroom. And then we supplement a little bit. I think Scotty talked to maybe last board meeting there was about the ART and other groups that we were doing for more of a tier 2-3 intervention. But having it in the classroom too with teachers being involved with that. So we're all using the same language and they're getting a consistent message all throughout the day, not just from us, you know, as counselors or administrators, but everybody in the building is using the same language. It's been awesome.
And one of the main things we've been doing the last couple of years at the high school is participating in the ICANN program. It's through the state of Iowa, and it's on College Aids Course to College. And it's a 3-pronged program. It works on first filling out applications, filling out your FAFSA, which is your free financial aid guide, and 3, making the actual decision. I don't know if you saw, we tweeted out a couple years ago, everybody that was going to what college. And the thing that I really have enjoyed about it and think has been very helpful as the high school is because I upload the list of our students to through this program, and then I get a list. I don't see like how much money they can pay to go to college or anything like that, but I can see who has completed that FAFSA and who hasn't. And then I go to those students who haven't done it, but I know that they want to go on to some type of post-secondary. And when we say college, we don't necessarily mean 4 years of college or even 2. I don't know if you saw the article in the Des Moines Register yesterday, but it was awesome about the, well, it's not awesome, but the heavy debt load that kids are getting and parents are getting, and it's not paying off. So we're talking more about apprenticeships and 2-year certificate programs or an 18-month welding certificate and things like that. Jobs that our kids tend to stay around here quite a bit. There's a large percentage. And so jobs that are readily available in this area. So, but it's very important for them to be able to get the financial help that they need. And so I'm able to meet with them. I help them fill out FAFSAs. I get Cindy Lind over from NIAC to help them fill it out. She'll fill out anybody's. They don't have to be attending NIAC. So we've, last year we reached the 69% mark for students filling out the FAFSA, which was about 19% higher than the year before. So it's really been a helpful program.
We briefly touched on the needs survey that we do at the elementary level, and 100% of our students at Lincoln have completed that needs survey to help guide our program and the services we're providing each year. And a few of the other things would be Pat has worked on academic success plans with her students, and all 8th grade plans have completed their iHappy plans with Heather.
Oh, this is fun data. Okay, so again, we're tying back to the data and all of those pieces. And at the elementary level that Pat was talking about, Scotty and I sat down last spring and kind of put together kind of our own little triangle of attendance. So you've got your 80% of your kids that are here on time every day, or so much 95% of the time. Then you've got your middle, and then you've got your top tier who miss a lot of school. So we put together some different thoughts and programming to help address that. So one of the things that we've been doing, it's a very different, unique situation at Washington because they're pre-K second graders, so they don't know, they can't get themselves to school. So it's kind of unique needs to somewhat Scotty's doing. But we've done some different things with letters and contacting, having conferences with parents and those kind of things. And we just got the data that, so we've been really implementing that in the last month or so, last couple weeks. And we had like if you look at that, just the trend line is going down for tardies at the K2 level. And last week we had 9 tardies total. And I mean, you're looking at, we've had over 40 tardies at times in the last month of January, or the last couple weeks from January to now. So I just thought that was important data. I wanted you guys to see what we're trying to do here and work really hard at that. And so that was really exciting for us. The next thing I'll talk about is just the data that we have with office referrals. So as PBIS school, we have office discipline referral forms. And at Washington, our physical aggression is pretty high. We're doing some training with staff next week on what that looks like, or is this a minor or a major? Where do we put that on our flow chart? But like I said before, I've taught the research-based conflict management and problem-solving skills this year for the first time at Washington. And last month, we had gone down. We had less physical aggression in the 5 weeks we had in January than we did the 4 weeks previous to that. So we had less referrals, which I thought was pretty exciting. We want it to keep going down, but that spoke volumes to the teachers using the same language, the kids using the same language. They know the skills. They know how to solve these problems on their own. And so I just feel like that was really important data to share.
Piggyback off of Sandy's discussion about tardies and absences, last year we came up with a comprehensive plan of how we were going to address absences at the K4 level. And we set goals each year, all of us together, comprehensive goals and also individual building goals. And one of my goals for Lincoln this year was to have an impact on the number of students in 3rd and 4th grade who had more than 8 absences. And research shows that more than 8 absences in an academic year begins to affect their social development, their relationships with teachers, and also bottom line items like test scores and Iowa assessments. So looking at the pie graph on the left, that was our current 3rd graders when they were in 2nd grade, their data. And so you can see the green section of our student body. There was 67% of the 3rd graders who had 8 or fewer absences last year. And looking at our chart on the right, you can see that 92% of our current 3rd graders have 8 or less absences up to this point, which shows a lot about the dedication of our teachers and Mrs. DeVore as our administrator, that we are teaching those classroom lessons early on in the year. We're making phone calls when students reach 3 absences just to touch base with the family, find out more about the situation and how we can support them. And then at 6 absences, our students are routed to an academic group with me to talk about barriers to attendance, how I can support them. And then at 9 absences, we're catching those students and their families early so we can have a more focused conversation about how we can support them and their education. And this is a similar graph for 4th grade. So their data is from the left on as they were 3rd graders, and 60% of our students in 4th grade right now had 8 or fewer absences. And right now that has changed to 93%. And I think it's also very important to look at those red and yellow sections and how much smaller those have decreased to this year. So we're seeing students who had 9 to 15 absences last year are only at 3 or 4 right now. Or students who had 16 plus have decreased their absences to 4 or 5. So it has made a big impact working as a whole building.
So this is just some quick data pulled from our Swiss data that we use for PBIS and our office referrals. Just looking at the graphs, they're kind of small there. But in the writing, we really focused on the defiance, disrespect, physical aggression, and fighting. And just kind of looking at the before groups and the after groups and the average there, and how much, the second step curriculum that teachers are using in the classroom. The other stage groups that Scotty's working with 5th and 6th grade, and the ART and the social skills streaming, and what an impact all of those things together and that tiered support has made just in the last couple of months.
Last week during National School Counseling Week, we were able to meet with some of our students, because I think it's one thing to hear us talk about our program and the services we provide, but I think hearing from the students often has a lot more impact.
Can you email yeah, absolutely.
We have 3 or 4 30-second to a minute videos.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You have to be at the mic, Scotty.
Yeah.
And we could put this on the website?
You should be able to do that.
Yep. So.
Well, Scotty, actually, when you're talking, you have to be at the mic.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, yeah, yeah. Got it.
We're carrying around the mic. We
No,
can
if
email
you can
those.
email them. If you can email them to us, then we, yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Mr. Mack, we're not tech people.
It's okay. That's why Mr. DeVore is here, and other people can help.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it now. I was putting the right thing.
Pat, I think it's all about teamwork, right?
Yes, it is. We've got that. Oh, it's really not, what we're trying to scan through it now. There you go. Let's just do that. Oh, fun pictures. So we spent last week celebrating National School Counseling Week by sort of taking care of our staff and our students. And so we did a couple drawings for our staff members. So there's a couple winners. They had to tweet out and make a shout out to their counselors using the National School Counseling Week hashtags and the Make It Happen CC hashtags. And so, and Scotty was in, so I don't know if Pat and Heather were able to get pictures done with their students talking about what they love their school counselor about, but just a couple of the winners from our drawings we did. There was one winner per day at each building. And then the final winner on Friday, which we didn't have school, but we drew out everybody's name and they got lunch delivered from the counselors, so. Oh, do I have to go? Yes, there we go. A couple more. I think Scotty had an interview with KMT. There's one of our teachers. And there we are, just a couple pictures. Is that Mrs. Masters' class, Scotty? How fun. And then, of course, your awesome team of counselors, and I think we are pretty awesome. And I think that's it, right? All right.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for your time. If you have questions or anything, I don't know if that's going to be open or not, but that's up to Dr. Cox. But if you have questions, you can email us, contact us about anything. We'll get those videos on the website. Take a couple minutes to look at them. They're kind of sweet to hear from the students. But thank you very much for your time and the support that you give to your counselors each year. We just really appreciate that very much. We couldn't do it without all of your guys' support. So thanks very much for all of that.
Any quick comments, questions?
Yeah, I have just a couple. One,
Yes.
I want to thank you guys. I think that's really important work. I think working with young children with the aggression is a really good thing. You know, I have young boys and they like to beat on each other, and it's really helpful to see that hopefully they won't grow up and kill each other. They'll be able to grow up and work out their
Girls
differences
too.
with words, so
Yes.
that's awesome. I also want to point out, Pat, you mentioned that, you know, there are other opportunities for career paths that aren't always necessarily in college, and I think that's a really important thing to mention. There's a lot of very successful people who college wasn't the right path for them. So I think that's really good, and we have a work shortage here that everybody knows about, and I think that's really awesome to do something like that. So thank you very much for that.
I just want to add to that it's very helpful working with NIAC. They are great to come over and help with all of that stuff. And we do have one student next year who will be taking advantage of the fact that they can start the automotive tech program. And so I'm excited to bring that back. Nobody has been able to participate that in a few years, but we do have one student that will be doing that next year, so.
Very awesome.
Awesome.
And then I had two other quick questions. Could you jump back to the slides where you showed the absence, the pie graphs that you had?
Oh.
If you can get there. You showed a third grade in the school year 2015-16, and then the same when they were in fourth grade. Do you see a correlation at that particular year, like when they hit third grade, to see tardies and absences increase? And so if you look at third grade as a whole, do you see an increase in third grade every year? And then as you move them into fourth grade, using the methods that you have, see a decrease in that? I mean, you show the data that shows the decrease.
So from grade to grade?
Yeah.
The data that I pulled third through sixth grade,
Yeah.
and I could see a slight trend in increases every single year. So from third grade, the students who have 5 absences tend to have 7 or 8 in fourth grade. 10 or 11 in 5th grade, and it continues to increase. Just the third through 6th grade data that I looked at.
Perfect, that was my question. So you've used the data to determine where is the pinch point to begin those conversations with the family and the students to help them understand how important that is, and then work backwards, and you've seen that trend, how you've been able to adjust those and bring those numbers way down. So that's awesome, very good work, thank you so much. Okay, I'll stop talking.
Excellent. Thanks, John. Anybody else?
Just
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah. I'll, same thing, echo all of, he just took all the thunder from everything, but, I commend you for such a proactive approach to everything instead of the traditional reactive approach to things. So working on the front side of things to avoid this and seeing the data and how successful it is really, really exciting. So thank you for your time. Thank you for coming tonight. I always tell the people that come that, and present that, the fact that we're able to broadcast on the local access channel gives so many people in our community the opportunity to see this good stuff that we're doing. So the fact you're willing to come in and do this tonight is greatly appreciated by all of us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 9, summary on high school modernization feedback.
So Justin's going to share some data that we've collected over the past 3 weeks on the high school project.
Good evening, I'm Justin DeVore, Communications and Community Engagement. The Communications Department has collected some feedback for you on the January 22nd plans that were presented. We did that on your behalf. Thank you. I want to express thanks for collecting the feedback and the data before you go to a vote. That helps everyone be successful down the road. Tonight, we're going to review the data and discuss where we go from here. So let's get started. This is a word cloud of all of the information that was presented at the with all the feedback. You can take everything and the nice thing here is that you've got school in the taking the center stage here. Space, room, parking, auditorium, stage, new, were all things that popped out in the word cloud here. We had 71 responses on the data, which is much higher than the first time that we did this. The first time that we did this, it was right around Christmas time. People weren't really paying attention. Now we have more people who have really taken to this. It was open from January 22nd through February 11th. It was accessible on the Charles City Community School District website. That's charlescityschools.org. The other thing is that all of our plans are there, all of our schematic drawings are there, and everything from the BLDD presentation is also there from a video standpoint with the plans overlaid, and we made some nice graphics there as well. This survey was sent to parents, it was sent to students, it was sent to staff, it was sent to businesses and stakeholders in the community. It was also communicated through our normal communication streams, and it was also published in the Charles City Press and KCAHA. And so we thank them as well for sharing this. General topics. Parking came in rather high, 32, but keep in mind, we specifically asked about that question. And so that's why that came in so high. Auditorium and stage came up high. Weight room and wrestling were in the next section there. Storage, music, gym, and education. So let's talk about those individually. Parking, we asked about that. And so people are supportive of more parking here at the single campus. I don't think that's a surprise. I think it's important also to say that we have an estimated 250 new parking spots in the Phase 2 design. Auditorium and stage. This by far and away is your biggest unresolved issue so far. The message that you are hearing from the community is that they would like a 21st century auditorium built. The comments that came back included more storage, which really is, I think you're searching for a solution for the props in the dungeon, and that's a very a term that is well loved by the community. That's not a negative term.
It goes back decades.
It does, it does. So it's a well-loved term. I don't want that to seem like that's a bad thing when we talk about dungeons in this situation. Fly space, need for fly space, need for dressing rooms, need for bathrooms. The pit under the stage, enough stage enough space to accommodate productions. What happens often is, and the comments have said this, a couple of commenters have said, you've got a production going on and you've got a concert at the same time. How can you accommodate both of those with the space? One of the comments that was made was piggybacking off of, I think, of a comment that was made at the last board meeting was, don't settle for traditional, and large sets need to be in the back stage. Weight room. This was, let me go back. Auditorium and stage, 20 people commented on that in the survey. Weight room, expanding or modernizing the weight room. That was a comment in there from about 12 people. Wrestling, newer modernized wrestling area was a comment from 7 people. Storage, excuse me, storage refers to the auditorium storage, except for one comment about the high school storage going away for the middle school wrestling. Music, there was scattered comments as well, but a couple things that stuck with me were soundproofing the rooms in the rehearsal space. The gym, parking concerns, and then other scattered comments. Education, it was scattered comments all around. That's a pretty broad topic. Other areas or comments, special education. Special education teachers still have some specific requests that they don't feel have been fully addressed in the phase 2 drawings. Trees, this came up, preserve as many trees as possible. And so I want to take the opportunity to say, you are. In the plans that are developed, you are conserving trees, and you have taken an effort to not tear down trees that don't need to be torn down. And so I want to make sure that, although that's a comment, I want to make sure and reiterate that is also something that you have done. Many comments about continue to involve the staff in the planning, and I also think that some work needs to be done to correct some misconceptions with the staff on things that they're saying, oh, well, this is happening, we're going to have wrestling practice on the new stage. No, you're not. But that's a misconception amongst a couple of people, so work needs to be done to correct that misconception with people. Once again, a couple people mentioned the Comet Store and a desire to have that, and then I think we're still up in the air on the high school locker rooms. Overall,
And Justin, you're referring to the basement ones?
yes, the current 1961, correct. Overall, when you take everything that everybody said and you give them a, yes, I'm positive on this, I'm opposed to this, or I'm neutral on this, these are your percentages. This is what you're looking at. I will say with that neutral, I think they have specific concerns that, if addressed, would move them to be supportive of the plan. But right now, 72% support the plan. Couple final thoughts. These were comments that resonated when we looked over the feedback. First, from the student, why couldn't you have done this before I was a senior? The second thing is, from a business leader, it is imperative to have a very usable and attractive school building for business and professional recruitment into our community. In this leader's prior leadership role, they were involved in bringing 600 jobs to the community in a site selection process. This person gave tours of the community as part of that and knows that schools are absolutely key in building a community. When schools succeed, communities succeed. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions? Thoughts? No, I just state, that, like I said in the previous presentation, being proactive and not reactive in this process is important too, where we are trying to flesh out those concerns, and if there are trends with specific things that are going to affect how people's opinions are formed on whether they're willing to have their taxes raised or not, is I've all along said I think it's critical that we do that at this point in time instead of down the road after whatever could happen with a vote. And we see that so often in surrounding districts that have tried to pass votes. So I appreciate the work and I appreciate continuing to work through that process, so.
Those people who have commented to me about questions or areas of concern that they would like to see changes made in the plans, such as you mentioned, stage, wrestling, etc. My comment is, we're not done with the design yet. We're not complete. Thus, we continue to seek input and make corrections or changes to a plan until we're ready to go to a vote.
This time I'll ask for any public comment, reminding that the policies and procedures printed in the agenda at the beginning of the meeting are still in order for this spot as well. So your comments will be limited to 2 minutes and timed. Are there any comments?
I'm Linda Brandt. I was a drama director at the high school here from 1980 until 2017, so last spring. And I have to say that the designs that are posted right now for an auditorium make me very sad. I, of course, don't know the dimensions, so I only have, so I may be wrong on some of these things and would be happy to be wrong. I see no area for a shop area backstage for building anything. And that's really important if you're going to be doing musicals and plays and doing them well. I see no access to a loading dock, which is important for the building, for building things, also for having contests located here. I see not space for flats, for platforms, for step units, for set pieces. Wonder where the grand piano will be, the music shelves, all of those things take space. A fly space is really important for scrims and painted drops, which are especially important in doing musicals, that you can have painted drops that can be raised all the way out of view and changed during a show. We've never been able to do that at our old 1930s era auditorium. Absolutely, I think there should be dressing rooms, for doing makeup, for kids changing, having toilet facilities or shower facilities back there. And that would apply to so many things that are done on stage. We have a costume collection that rivals many colleges that have been built up over the last more than 40 years. With a lot of help from the community in terms of donations and sewing and supporting it financially. And so I'm concerned that we have that kind of space. So
Hit your 2
thank
minutes.
you.
So.
And if you have questions, I'd be happy to address them too.
Absolutely, thank you. And any continuing comments that you weren't able to make, please send to us.
Certainly.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other additional comments, feedback? Okay. Move on to agenda item number 10, lobbying at the state capitol. So,
January 24th, I'll just start. We had about 20 people from 8 school districts, Charles City and surrounding districts that went down to Des Moines to the Capitol. We met with 26 different legislators. That includes senators and representatives. President Walker was able to go, Director Maycumber, and Justin DeVore and myself from Charles City. And very positive experience, but share your insights as board president from.
Yeah, it was, again, this is, I don't know how many years.
Our fourth year.
Our 4th year doing this. So it's every year we kind of build on the previous year's experiences. And every year has been different. It seems like more receptive to some things, more opposed to others. Had good conversation. It must have been a slow day because there was a lot of legislators that seemed to just want to stay out there and talk, or maybe they had something they were avoiding. I don't know. But
well, it was a good day to go because they recessed immediately after the opening fanfare, and the whole day was for committee meetings.
Yeah.
Which meant that legislators had ample time to spend with us, where in the past it's been maybe 5 minutes. It was 5, 10, 15, and 20 minutes on the part of many of them.
Very much so. I appreciated going with, we've built this into the surrounding districts being on board and coming along with, and their board members as well. And I appreciated the opportunity to talk with them and kind of network with them on, okay, what issues are really affecting Howard Wynn and Rockford and the other districts. So that gives you a better appreciation for those things that they're dealing with and issues that come up with the legislature that we may or may not have as our priority, but they can then learn what we have as well. So there was a lot more of a receptive attitude towards eliminating the sunset or extending the sunset on the sales tax money, the infrastructure, the SAVE money. So that was really positive. I thought I've seen more of that the last few years. It really has been kind of a no, or maybe. Now it's more of a yes lean, which is a critical component to when we're talking about infrastructure in our district. This building was a result of that. So it would really brighten the future for us even more so with an extension of a pot of money that can help us keep modernized facilities in the district. So generally a good experience. It's a long day of standing on the concrete and that, but a good experience to go down. I would urge anyone to, if you're passionate about absolutely any topic, to spend some time down there and see how the process works. It really is something to watch and to see and to get an understanding of, instead of just kind of seeing the news about it all the time. So
Another one of the positives from being down there 4 years in a row now is the relationships that we've built with legislators, because we don't just talk to our own. We're out talking to a lot of folks who serve in leadership capacities on the Education Committee, and then just other key legislators who could really advocate for public education. I was back at the Capitol a week after we went down, and I had one of the leading legislators tap me on the shoulder when I was talking with our senator and pulled me aside and wanted to talk about something we'd visited the previous week about related to education. So that wouldn't have happened if we hadn't been going down and building relationships and getting to know one another and engaging in those conversations. So there's a lot of power in what we've done and continue to do. And as President Walker said, we certainly encourage our community members to reach out and contact legislators and let them know what you think about educational savings accounts, for example, or extension of the 1 cent sales tax, things that are affecting education right now.
excellent. Any other comments, questions?
Just that it wasn't a meeting.
Correct. It was not a board meeting. We didn't have a quorum.
2 people, so there was no minutes published for this session.
Correct. We had posted it thinking that we would have 4 or 5 board members, and we ended up with 2, so
Yeah.
it was not an official board meeting.
The flu hit our office and I couldn't get out for the day, so
It's-
otherwise I had planned on
Yeah.
going.
No, that's absolutely
Too
understandable.
many people were sick.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 11, policy 213, public participation in board meetings. This is the second reading of the policy. Just to clarify for everyone, the changes that are being made here is that we are looking at expanding opportunities basically to provide public comment to us, I guess. And the changes specifically are that comments can be made at the beginning of the meeting or during an agenda item. So you won't be limited to just during the agenda item for comments if it appears on an agenda. It's difficult for people to stay late in the meeting sometimes. We kind of recognize that. So if you're able to come, provide your comments at the beginning, even if it is on the agenda, that's one more opportunity to do so. And the big one, which will be helpful, in my opinion, is that we're going to expand it from 2 minutes to 3 minutes. So you'll have an extra minute of time, which, in the world of speaking at that microphone, which can be intimidating, is important, I think. So any additional comments or thoughts?
Move to approve the second reading of Board Policy 213, public participation in board meetings as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the second reading of the Board Policy 213, public participation in board meetings as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 12 is early retirement applications and resignations.
So from our teaching staff, from our certified staff, we have 7 applications totaling 170 years of experience with the Charles City Schools. We received applications from Anna Burnham, K-4 teacher librarian, Marilyn Butcher, high school German teacher, Artie Gisselson, high school English, Danae Lundberg, high school family and consumer science teacher, Laura McDermott, K-6 technology teacher, Al Nielsen, high school industrial technology, and Pat Rottinghouse, high school counselor.
Comments? Questions?
We want to express our deep gratitude to them for their many, many years of service to our students and families.
Absolutely. This is always a kind of a bittersweet thing, you know, when we've had to do this in previous years with, you know, looming budget reductions and things. This is obviously a great tool that we have to be able to accomplish some of that, but the byproduct is that we lose a lot of phenomenal staff that have got a substantial amount of years of service accumulated in the district. 170 years between 7 staff is nothing to bat an eye at. That's, you know, in a world of people changing jobs and being very mobile, to see the years of experience and dedication to our district is, it really is makes you feel good about where you live and the staff that we have. So with that, if there's a motion.
I'd make a motion to accept the resignation and applicants for early retirement as recommended.
I'll second.
Motion is second to accept the resignations and applications for early retirement as recommended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. Agenda item 13, also early retirement applications and resignations for support staff.
Support staff, so Denise Holzer, Washington secretary, Juanita Hughes, an instructional assistant, and Linda Wiedemeyer, instructional assistant.
Again, I'll just echo the comments. I mean, it all applies here. You know, whether you're support staff or the previous teaching staff, you're all critical to the district, and we substantially appreciate the years of dedication. So, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the resignations and applications for early retirement as recommended.
Second.
Motion is second to accept the resignation and applications for early retirement as recommended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 14, the Iowa Big Agreement.
So the folks at Cedar Rapids have decided to put out an agreement for use of their name, and we use their name with our Iowa Big North Consortium. You've got the document in front of you. We have been going through this for the past couple of months to make sure that it reads the way we'd like it to read, as well as the way that they'd like it to read it in Cedar Rapids. So I submit it for your approval tonight.
So Dan, just to be clear, you've touched this and reviewed it with them.
Reviewed it with our own people,
Yep.
reviewed it across the consortium. We've gone back and forth, made recommendations back to them for some changes, and this was the version that our consortium said, okay, we can live with this.
Okay.
Excellent. Any additional comments or questions?
I move to approve the Iowa Big Agreement as presented.
I'll second.
Motion is second to approve the Iowa Big Agreement as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 15 is the Chautauqua Guest Homes Clinical Experience Agreement. Dr. Cox.
We have a really unique partnership with Chautauqua Guest Homes to provide a CNA opportunity for our students, and they put together an agreement between the district and Chautauqua that spells out all the parameters of it. It allows our students to earn this CNA in a much more flexible approach than the traditional path for doing that. So the document is before you tonight.
Any comments or questions? Is there a motion?
Move to approve the School to Work program with Chautauqua Guest Homes and the Clinical Experience Agreement as presented.
I'll second.
Motion is second to approve the School to Work program of Chautauqua Guest Homes and the Clinical Experience Agreement as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 16 is the financial report for January 2018. Any highlights, Terry?
In January, we received $12,950 in donations for the athletic complex, and we donated another $12,950 as our in-kind match, coming to approximately $45,000 in the fund. Our Wellmark balance is up almost 20%, same as kind of what it was last month. We are going out to bid for our food service management company contract, and we're working on the specifications now. And that's it, I guess.
Excellent. Any comments, questions? Any motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the January 2018 financial reports as presented.
I'll second.
Motion is second to accept the January 2018 financial reports as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 17 is the consideration of the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda items as listed.
I'll second.
Motion is second to approve the consent agenda items as listed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Correspondence and miscellaneous. A note, a jump in the enrollment summary from the previous month. which
Yeah,
is-
so from October 1, in December, we were down 2, and now we are up 17.
Yeah,
So,
that's always good news. Hopefully it carries on.
yeah.
Agenda item 19, important upcoming dates.
Quite a few extracurricular ones coming up, some committee meetings as well. We have our next regular board meeting on February 26th at 6 o'clock right here in the 7th grade gather space.
Excellent.
Before we adjourn, could we give a shout out to our young photographer this evening?
Sure.
Mr. DeVore, for sitting in and helping us out. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
It's turning red. With that, we will adjourn the regular board meeting tonight.
Actually, we're not going to adjourn, we're just going to adjourn and go into
Into-
closed session.
yes.
Because we still are
Yep.
in a meeting yet.
Okay. Would you like to go into closed session now? Motion for that?
Why don't we?
Okay.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll second.
Motion is second to move.
You're going to need to have the
You're gonna need to-
language, so Terry, do you have one of those copies you could just give to
Oh,
the motion copy?
Oh,
it's stated here as the,
There we go, that'd be fine.
here
Yeah.
underneath the
Yeah.
agenda item 21, if you wanted to read, in your motion, read that statement.
The Iowa code part.
Okay, to conduct a hearing to suspend or expel a student unless an open session is requested by the student or parent or guardian of the student if the student is a minor. The board will reconvene to open session prior to any determination.
Okay.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
It's your motion, is there a
That's my
second?
motion.
I'll second.
Second, okay, motion is second to move to closed session to conduct a hearing to suspend or expel a student unless an open session is requested by the student or parent or guardian of the student if the student is a minor. Roll call vote, please.
Dyke,
Yes.
Freund,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. And we have,
Media room.
yep,